Welcome to Reader Rock Garden, one of Calgary's National Historic Sites. It's 3 acres, and you gotta come and see it to believe it. My name is Diane Dalkin. I'm the past president of the Friends of Reader Rock Garden Society, and I've been a volunteer since 2003. In case you're not familiar with Reader Rock Garden, it's a 3-acre, 1.6 hectare garden just off the edge of downtown Calgary. It has actually been here for a very, very long time, well over 100 years. The city bought the land from homesteaders back in the early 1900s, and they decided this would be a great site to develop because of its commanding view overlooking the downtown city. You can come and see it at any time during the year. It's open free of charge, and it's open from sunrise to sunset. Welcome again to the garden. The garden started to be developed in 1913 when Mr. Reader and his family moved up here. They moved up here because he was given the opportunity to be superintendent of parks, cemeteries, and recreation. The house was a bit of a city perk that offered on his position as superintendent, so the family lived here almost 30 years and developed the garden along the way. It was a windswept, barren site with virtually nothing growing here. Even tumbleweed wasn't up here. There were no rocks, so keep that in mind when you walk around. All the rocks were brought here, all the rocks were placed here by hand and brought up here with a horse and buggy. The plants that are here, Mr. Reader introduced. He really loved plants. His passion was gardening, and he truly believed, coming from England, that he could introduce plants here so that people could use them not only in this site, but in their gardens. It was an educational and experimental site. He brought the plants, whether it was from the mountains or he shared the seeds with various other groups from around the world via the post. So all of these were introduced as experimental to see, could they grow, could they survive, could they overwinter? So essentially, this place is a living classroom. If you come and take a look and see what's growing in here, you probably could grow it in your own garden. The garden's evolved over the years. When Mr. Reader was here, he decided that, yeah, you know, we got to plant some things around here with the shelter belt. So the trees got planted all around the perimeter of the garden. That helped to protect the other things that he was going to plant. As he got the plants that he wanted, he trialed these plants to see, did they overwinter? Are they successful? He kept really good records, and that has helped our organization in getting the plants reestablished here. The way it started was, let's get that actual high rockery started. So he started pushing in the rockeries into the side of the hill to stabilize the slope. And in there, he also introduced alpine plants. Alpine plants are wonderful things to have in rockery gardens. Of course, the trees are massive now. You'll see a picture of, on the main lawn, the tiny little tree, which is a blue spruce that was introduced here. It is now a giant. When you come to the main lawn, right next door to the cafe, you'll see a massive blue spruce there, and you'll have appreciation of when it was planted. I think it was around 1920 it was planted. So it's too has been a long time growing here. Mr. Reader's passion and love for the garden really had a very high level of appreciation. So this garden was world renowned, something like Bouchard Gardens is now. That's how it was during his lifetime. He took care of this place, he loved this place, and clearly the garden showed that. You actually had to get permission to see the garden at that time. One of the fun things that we discovered that Mr. Reader welcomed the public to come and see what he was growing here, but what he asked for if you're coming to see my garden, why don't you bring a rock along? So all of these rocks were also brought here by the City of Calgary residents. So this garden offers a lot to various groups. Clearly it appeals to gardeners. There's so much plant material to see. But it also is of interest to historians. Because there is such a rich history, this cultural landscape tells a story. So there's lots of stories to tell you here. One of the things that you may want to come, obviously photographers come and check it out. But if you're just looking for a quiet oasis, you can come here just for that purpose too. But as for the public, it's all free. It's something that you can enjoy at any time here. So do come and visit. Lindsay Boyd, our president, she always sending out notices to our various volunteer things so that people can join us. You don't have to be an avid gardener. You don't have to be an experienced gardener. You can just want to love this site or love history or love all of the different things that nature offers you. So it engages people in many ways. And you as a citizen here, whether you're a visitor or a local, come and check this out for yourself and you'll see it is very, very easy to fall in love with this garden.
Hi, my name's Daniel Walker and I'm the head gardener here at Reader Rock Garden. I've been working here since the fall of 2016 and welcome on this journey. So we have about 4,000 different species or named cultivars of plants here in the garden. So many of the 4,000 plants that you're going to see here were trialed by William Reader during his time. The main purpose for this was for him to showcase what was going to grow on the prairies. So when settlers were coming to Canada, he wanted to be able to show them what could grow here and entice them to move here. We have a wide selection of plants. There's a couple dozen different trees and shrub species. We also have a high rockery, which houses our alpine plants, which there's a good 100 plus different species that go in there. We also have some water plants to showcase. The majority, though, the bulk, probably 90% of the garden would be the herbaceous perennials that you see here. William Reader, when he trialed them, kept very meticulous notes on all the plants that he grew, and it is in his unpublished manuscript called Herbaceous Perennials. We use that now as part of our guide to continue to plant and do the research to find the species that William Reader grew back in the day. So some of the successful plants that grow in the garden, you'll notice there's 32 different species signs. They're a 3/4 inch by 3 inch wide board. Those plants were their original ones when the rehabilitation happened in 2004. There was over 4,000 species, but in 2004 there was only 32 herbaceous perennials left. So those ones would definitely be the most successful in the fact that they were able to thrive still when the garden was in a little bit of a disarray. There is the orange daylily that you'll see throughout the garden, the nice big grassy foliage with the nice kind of burnt orange flowers on it. Then you'll see some of our beautiful globe thistles. They'll get about 6 to 7 feet tall, nice big thistly type leaves on them with a beautiful pale lavender lilac kind of globe flower on them that bees absolutely love. In the next couple weeks, as the nights get colder, the bees actually sleep on them, and it's quite a sight to see. Some of the other not so good success stories would be the one that people fear and dread in their gardens. It is Campanula rapunculoides, or the creeping bellflower. Yes, that plant was trialed by William Reader and proved to be very successful, and unfortunately has been throughout all of Calgary's gardens and a hard one to eradicate. So it just goes to show that even though we have some great successes that are great and ornamental, some of the plants now are a little bit troublesome that we have in the gardens. So one of my favorite plants in the garden right now is definitely the May apple. So the Latin for that is Podophyllum hexadrum. It's a very unique woodland type plant. In the springtime, the leaves come up, they're really reflexed downwards and they're very mottled. So think of kind of like an olive brown speckling on the leaves. And in the very center on the tip is a single petaled flower that is very close to an apple blossom. As that plant matures and the leaves grow up and fan up, they lose the mottling on it, and the flower only lasts maybe 3 or 4 days. But when it's pollinated, it starts to form this fruit, and this fruit can get almost the size of my fist, and hence why you get the name Mayapple with it. People have always asked if it's edible. I haven't personally tried it, as I try not to eat anything in the garden, and I don't think it's palatable. The squirrels and voles don't go after it, and I've heard it's kind of like a citrusy, acidic, but kind of a slimy texture. They're located down by between the upper and lower pond here in the garden, and they're definitely a great sight to see. So there are a couple other really cool, neat items that grow in the garden here. We do have a vegetable patch that historically was showcased on maps. So we do grow heirloom type vegetables for the cafe on site to use as a supplement for their menu. It's not to totally replace, but it just helps them give it an oomph, and it's just a nice way to use up some fresh produce. Other things that we have in the garden that may not be on the list is we have an array of different fungi in the garden. So we have an old poplar stump that's now home to a bunch of shelf mushrooms and oyster mushrooms, as well as some little puffballs that in the late summer when you touch them give off a little puff of kind of that greeny brown smoke on there. The other things that are quite unique is we have an array of lichens and different mosses that are naturally growing on a bunch of our rocks throughout the garden. I'm always on the search for new plants, and there's definitely a top 5 that I'd like to bring back into the garden. One is a shrub. It is Abronia abrutifolia. It's similar to a chokecherry, but it's going to get bright red berries and kind of has nice glossy leathery green leaves. I've been trying to get more shrubs and plants that produce fruit and nuts that attract more wildlife into the garden. The second one would be Cassiope mertensia, and it is a mountain white heather. That one, and also the third one I'm just going to mention, Calypso bulbosa, which is a ground orchid. Those ones both natively grow up in the mountains, and I'm actually currently working right now on getting a special permit through Parks Canada to be able to collect them from the wild and bring them back into the garden. The fourth plants would be the sugar maple. Notably, the sugar maple is always in eastern Canada, and our harsh Chinooks can sometimes be hard with it, but we've worked on finding, I think, a sheltered location, even in the bed that it was located in historically, to put it in there. And I think it would just be great to have that nice smooth gray bark, the red leaves in the fall. I think would be very outstanding. The fifth one would be Cypripedium aureticum. It is lady slipper ground orchid as well, but it has a beautiful white with burgundy spots on the pouch. That species has been notoriously hard for me to find, but there's some good luck because there's a private grower here in Calgary actually that has some baby seedlings that I'm hoping in about 3 to 4 years will be big enough for them to grow.
we'll see you in person, and I look forward to meeting you. Thank you.